Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Namaste everyone and welcome to this Panchami Tithi, the 5th day of our Navaratri Sadhana. From this day onwards, the sadhana takes a slightly different turn. We still do the same things, but the focus now starts getting a little deeper than it already was. So let's see how that goes. We prepare ourselves for sadhana, sitting comfortably. Feet placed firmly on the floor or in a cross-legged position. Watch your body. If you find any spot in your body that's uncomfortable, soften it. Let's begin with a few deep breaths. 2 deep breaths before we prepare ourselves to start Omkara. Preparing to chant Om 3 times. Inhaling deeply. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Om Ganana Antva Ganapati Gum Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Upamashravastamam Jyeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashranvannotibhissi Dasadanam Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebhirvajinivati Bhinama Vitryavatu Ano Divo Brihataf Parvatada Saraswati Ajata Gantu Yajnam Havan Devi Jujushana Gritachi Shagman No Vacha Mushati Shrunotu Vagdevyai Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Watch your breath. Become aware of the movement of your breath. Become very close and intimate with your breath. Notice any sounds it makes. Notice any sound at any point in the journey of the breath. Notice the temperature of the air. Notice the temperature as air enters and leaves your body. Notice the subtlety of the breath, the quality. And with the next 2 or 3 breaths, be very thankful that you have the breath. Five rounds of Bhastrika, inhaling deeply and exhaling completely. At the end of your Bhastrika practice, take 2 cleansing breaths, inhaling deeply through your nostrils, exhaling long and slow through your mouth. Moving on to Kapalbhati, 3 rounds, each round with increasing number of sets for reps. The first time we will do 20, the second time 30, and the third time 40. So 20, 30, and 40. Kapalbhati. Be mindful of how much you move during Kapalbhati. It's only your abdomen. When you're done with your practice, place your palms together in Anjali Mudra or Namaskar Mudra. So I know that you're done with your practice. Moving on to Nadishudana. Taking the mudra of your choice. For the first round, we will do 5 rounds of Nadishudana with the Vishnu or the Yonasagra mudra. And then we will move on to, okay, my apologies, it's not Nadishudana. We will start with Surya Bheda and Chandra Bheda. 3 rounds each of Surya and Chandra. And then we will move on to Nadishudana. 5 rounds with the mudra. And then 5 rounds each without the mudra. Become aware of the subtle change in your breath at the end of your practice. Become aware of the quality of your breath and also the quality of your thoughts. Notice that your mind has settled down just a little bit. Before we move into mantra sadhana, let us ask ourselves a few core questions, questions of our soul, of our Atman, of what we seek. Who am I? Who am I? Allow answers to spontaneously arise. And it's okay. There is no right or wrong answer. Who am I? What do I want? What do I really, really want? And your answers may be material, physical, spiritual, financial, emotional, relational, anything that your heart truly desires at this point in time. What do I want? What is my purpose in life? What is my swadharma? How can I help? How can I serve? How can I be of use in alignment to what I'm meant to do? What am I grateful for? What am I thankful for? With your next inhale, gather all of these questions and answers. And as you exhale, long and slow, release all of these questions and answers out. Allowing the universe, allowing your Ishta Devata, allowing karma to unfold these for you. Bring to mind your initiated Guru Mantra or the universal mantra, Om, and start repeating it mentally. When you're comfortable with the mantra, mentally repeat the mantra on every inhale. And now mentally repeat the mantra on every exhale. Continue meditating gently by repeating the mantra on every inhale and exhale. I'll watch the time and let you know when we move on to the next phase of mantra sadhana. Very gently let go of the mantra and sit comfortably with your eyes closed. Today I will chant the Ganesh Atharva Shirsham or the Ganesh Ganpati Upanishad. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraha Sthirairangai Istuštuvagam Sastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vriddhashravaha Swasti nः Pusha Vishvavedaha Swasti nastarksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brihaspati'r Dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namaste Ganapataye Tvameva Pratyaksham Tatvamasi Tvameva Kevalam Kartasi Tvameva Kevalam Dhartasi Tvameva Kevalam Hartasi Tvameva Sarvam Khalvidam Brahmasi Tvam Sakshadatmasi Nityam Ritam Vachmi Satyam Vachmi Avatvam Mam Avavaktaram Avashrotaram Avadataram Avadhataram Avanuchanam Avashishyam Avapaschattaat Avapurastaat Avottarattaat Avadakshinattaat Avachordhvattaat Avadharattaat Sarvato mam pahi pahi samantat Tvam vangmayastvam chinmayah Tvam anandamayastvam brahmamayah Tvam satchidanandadvitiyosi Tvam pratyaksham brahmasi Tvam jnanamayo vijnanamayosi Sarvam jagadidam tvatto jayate Sarvam jagadidam tvattastisthati Sarvam jagadidam tvayi layameshyati Sarvam jagadidam tvayi pratyeti Tvam bhumirapo nalo nilo nabha Tvam chatvari va akpadani Tvam gunatrayatitaha Tvam avasthatrayatitaha Tvam dehatrayatitaha Tvam kalatrayatitaha Tvam mooladhare sthitosi nityam Tvam shaktitrayatmakaha Tvam yogino dhyayanti nityam Tvam brahma, Tvam vishnustvam rudrastvam indrastvam agnistvam vayustvam suryastvam chandramasstvam brahma bhurbhuvasvarom Ganadim purvamuccharya varnadiim stadanantaram Anuswarah paratarah ardhendu tarena ruddham etattava manusvarupam gakarah purvarupam akaro madhyama rupam anuswarascha antya rupam binduruttara rupam nadasandhanam sagumhita sandhihi saisha ganesha vidya ganaka rishihi Nichrudgayatri Chandaha Shri Mahaganapatir Devata Om Ganganapataye Namaha Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat Ekadantam Chaturhastam Pashamankushadharinam Radancha Varadam Haster Bibhranam Mushakadvajam Raktalambodaram Shurpakarnakam Raktavasasam Raktagandhanuliptangam Raktapushpais Supujitam Bhaktanukampinam Devan Jagatkaranamachyutam आविर्भूतं च सृष्ट्यादौ प्रकृतेः पुरुषात् परम् एवं ध्यायति यो नित्यं स योगी योगिनां वरः। नमो व्रातपतये नमो गणपतये नमः प्रमथपतये नमस्ते स्तुलम्बोदरायैकदन्ताय विघ्नविनाशिने शिवसुताय श्रीवरवरदमूर्तये नमः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। 32 names of Ma Durga. Chant 3 times. Om Durga Durgartishamani Durga Padvinivarini Durga Machedini Durga Sadhini Durga Nashini Durga Todharini Durga Nihantri Durga Mapaha Durga Madnyanada Durga Daitya Lokadavanala Durga Ma Loka Durga Matma Swarupini Durga Marga Prada Durga Mavidya Durga Mashrita Durga Madhyana Sanstana Durga Madhyana Bhasini Durga Moha Durga Maga Durga Martha Swarupini Durga Ma Sura Samhantri Durga Ma Yudhadharini Durga Mangi Durga Mata Durga Mya Durga Meshwari Durga Bhima Durga Bhama Durga Bha Durga Darini. Om Durga Durgartishamani Durga Padvinivarini Durga Machedini Durga Sadhini Durga Nashini Durga Todharini Durga Nihantri Durga Mapaha Durga Madnyanada Durga Daitya Lokadavanala Durga Ma Loka Durga Matma Swarupini Durga Marga Prada Durga Mavidya Durga Mashrita Durga Madhyana Sanstana Durga Madhyana Bhasini Durga Moha Durga Maga Durga Martha Swarupini Durga Ma Sura Samhantri Durga Ma Yudhadharini Durga Mangi Durga Mata Durga Mya Durga Meshwari Durga Bhima Durga Bhama Durga Bha Durga Darini. Om Durga Durgartishamani Durga Padvinivarini Durga Machedini Durga Sadhini Durga Nashini Durga Todharini Durga Nihantri Durga Mapaha Durga Madnyanada Durga Daitya Lokadavanala Durga Ma Loka Durga Matma Swarupini Durga Marga Prada Durga Mavidya Durga Mashrita Durga Madhyana Sanstana Durga Madhyana Bhasini Durga Moha Durga Maga Durga Martha Swarupini Durga Ma Sura Samhantri Durga Ma Yudhadharini Durga Mangi Durga Mata Durga Mya Durga Meshwari Durga Bhima Durga Bhama Durga Bha Durga Darini. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Devi Suktam. Om Devim Vachamajanayanta Devaha Tam Vishwarupah Pashavo Vadanti Sano Mandre Shamurjanduhana Dhenurvagasmanu Pasuštutaitu Yadvak Vadantya Vichetanani Rashri Devana Annishasada Mandra Chatasra Urjanduduhe Payagumsi Kvasvidasyav Paramanjagama Anantamantadadhinirmitam Mahim Yasya An Deva Adadhurbhojanani Eka Aksharan Dvipadagum Shatpadancha Vachan Deva Upajivanti Vishve Vachan Deva Upajivanti Vishve Vacham Gandharvav Pashavo Manushya Aha Vachima Vishva Bhuvananyarpita Sano Havanjushatam Indrapatni Vagaksharam Prathamajarutasya Vedanam Matamritasya Nabhihi Sano Joshanopayagnamagaat Avanti Devi Suhavame Astu Yam Rishayo Mantra Krito Manishinaha Anvaichan Devas Tapasashramena Tan Devim Vachagum Havishaya Jamahe Sano Dadhatu Sukritasya Loke Chatvari Vak Parimita Padani Tani Vidur Brahmana Ye Manishinaha Guhatrini Nihitane Gayanti Turiyam Vacho Manushya Vadanti Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. The form of the goddess who is celebrated today is Ma Skandamata. Skandamata. Skanda means many things. Skanda can mean fair. Skanda is also another name for the Lord Kartikeya, the god of war. But here Skandamata is called Skandamata because Mata is mother, and here she is the mother of Kartikeya. In this image, you'll see that she is astride a lion. She is riding a lion. That's her vehicle or a vahana. And she has Lord Kartikeya on her lap. She also carries two lotuses. She holds two lotuses in her two arms. And her fourth arm is in the mudra that we practiced a few days back. Are you familiar? Do you remember which one that is? Abhaya Mudra. The one that removes any fears, dispels any fear. Abhaya, fearlessness. Okay? The essence of Ma Skandamata today is not just because she is carrying her son with her, okay? But it is also because she is the energy behind that fearlessness that the Lord of War, Kartikeya, needs to get into war. To get into war of what? To get into war not with people. The imagery, the story tells us that it is between demons and asuras and the devas. Yes, but what are the asuras? Who are the asuras? Are we familiar with asuras in 2022? Do we have asuras in our lives in 2022? We may think of asuras in the general worldly context, right? In the political context, in the socio-political or just the social context. We may think of asuras as people who do us harm, not us as in the society, our country, our community, where we segregate a section of our people and say, see, this person or this group of people are doing harm to us, and they become our asuras. And that's when we notice the separation, but we realize that the mother, like we spoke about the other day, the mother brings compassion even to the asuras, because even the asuras are a creation of and from her. There is no creation, nothing that does not arise from her. And how and why would a mother hate one of her own? So the mother doesn't. So there is a lot of compassion and grace even for those who come under our polar description of who an asura is. But when we come closer, we are still looking at a separation. We're looking at someone who's outside of us as an asura, and always placing ourselves as a deva. Most of the times we do that. Okay. Very, very rarely will we notice that, we have been an asura ourselves. Right? Very rarely. Most of the times we will point the finger at someone who has caused us pain, someone else who has caused us harm. And we very gladly, in different shades of the spectrum, put ourselves in victim mode. We have been wronged. We have been harmed. I have been harmed and I have been wronged. My people, my children, my family have been wronged, or my family, my children, my people have harmed me. Okay. Inevitably, we speak up for the harm and the pain that we experience. But if 5 of us sit and we speak about a collective harm that all of us have experienced, and if we plot it somehow, we'll find that our levels of pain will be very different. Some of us will feel the pain, but say, yeah, well, and some of us will take it with us for years, decades, maybe even longer. Very often such kind of pain and such kind of a yearning of because it's heavy. Pain is heavy. Anger is heavy, right? It carries on over lifetimes as well. And that's why we carry on that pain, as we hear in so many wise people sayings. You carry it on as poison. You're the only one getting harmed, not just now, but if you don't let go of that, if you don't actively work towards forgiveness, then we carry over that as residual karma to be processed in another lifetime. Is this lifetime not enough? Right? But to process it, we have the grace. Well, before we understand what that grace is, that pain that we are carrying with us is pain that we are giving ourselves. So, in other words, we are our own asuras. We are the asura of our own pain. And when we are the asura of our own pain, and we are still sadhakas, and we are still devotees, and we are still reaching out to the mother for compassion, then we know that we have that unlimited grace. When you seek truly to remove the asuras in your life, then the mother comes in to say, I'm here, still with a lot of grace, still without separation, to remove that grace, to remove that pain, to remove that suffering. And bottom line is, we are all here in all these different approaches to whatever we are doing so that we can eliminate sufferings from our lives. When we do it on the outside as part of our swadharma, because swadharma is always external, it's for the grace of for the benefit of the community. When you do things in alignment with what you want to do, but for the benefit of the community, a larger application of your dharmic integrity, then it becomes swadharma in action. So when you're eliminating suffering for yourself, you're doing it by also the purification that comes from you doing it from someone for someone else. Someone, well, you can't keep looking for people who can't repay me. Then that becomes very, that becomes a goal, you're doing something for a specific outcome. That does not become Karma Yoga. And Karma Yoga is open to all of us. When we're doing the action, when we're doing all of these karmas, for the sake of doing, with the intention, yes, you start off with the intention, I do this. But then as humans, we need to keep reminding ourselves that we're doing this to eliminate suffering, or we're doing this for the greater good. We're doing it for the sake of yoga. We're doing it as Ishvara Arpanam, as a dedication to Ishvara. And let Ishvara do whatever he wants with it, whatever Ishvara wants to do with it, right? Let Ishvara decide if my intention warrants punyam, or if my intention for this karma warrants papam. Let Ishvara decide. And if you're doing it for, if there is any element of you consciously saying, I'm doing this, let Ishvara decide if it's papam, then there must be a pinch of papam there, right? So you need to do it. You need to do it with the intention. You need to hold the intention. And at that point, you need to bring in, why am I doing this? You need to. So your actions really need to be grounded and conscious. Your actions need thought into it. So you can't have a reactive action and say, okay, Ishvara, you take care of this. You can't just, if someone slaps you, slap them back, or, do something and hurt someone and say, oh, that was a reaction, Ishvara, you take care of it. No, we need to move from reactiveness to responsiveness. We need to move from reactability to responsibility. And that only comes when we introspect on every action that we may do. And actions are all we can do as humans. But what we can also do is bring in or superimpose on our cognitive faculty, on our processing capacity, superimpose all of this with divine intervention. We need, how do you say that? That comes from Shraddha, that comes from Bhakti, that comes from asking for the energy of the divine. And if it is too far-fetched for you to say, what is this energy of the divine? What is she talking about? Then just superimpose it with actions that are Vedika karmas, for example, that are actions designed to give you purity of thought. What are these actions? These actions are, it's not meditation, okay? It happens, meditation happens, but they're actions like chanting, japa. When you're chanting, there is no space between your chants for thoughts. You don't chant Om and then you wait for 5 minutes to say, okay, I wonder what's cooking or what's for dinner. And then you remember again, Om. That happens, but when that happens, you realize that you've been distracted and you come back again, right? So there is a gradual progression in your practice. There is a gradual progression in the depth of your practice, the quality of your practice, but you have to start somewhere. These actions are what would give you Chitta Shuddhi. The study of the scriptures, Swadhyaya, meant for Chitta Shuddhi. Asana, meant for Chitta Shuddhi, not for the toning of your muscles and for your better core and for posture and for, a radiant face and glow. And that's not the purpose of asana. Asana also isn't for developing strength. It's not for all of those things. Asana is for possibly emotional and spiritual strength. But it's because you start from there, especially as a Hatha Yogi, you start with your body and then the mind follows. So Skandamata here is that encouraging force behind. And, while she's holding in her arm Lord Kartikeya, what she's also offering is the Abhaya, the Abhaya Mudra. So all of us, at different points in our lives, at this point also in our lives, are Kartikeya. We are warriors in our own battles. We are warriors in our own wars. And Skandamata is there as that energy behind to give us courage, to give us fearlessness, to give us the, the encouragement that is required to move through this war, to move through this battle, so that we can have victory over our asuras. Here we need to really now start internalizing and moving towards understanding what it is or who it is that I am fighting, not on the outside, but on the inside, to move from separation to something more deeper within. At the same time, Skandamata, when we're talking about war, when we're talking about action, when we're talking about what can we do, Skandamata is governs your Vishuddhi Chakra. She governs the Vishuddhi Chakra. Okay, that's your throat chakra. Actually, if you look at all of these, when we spoke about the very first, the beginning of the Devis, Ma Shailputri is at your Mooladhar, right? The source of all, the foundation of all groundedness. And if you see Shailaputri, there's also the very strong earth element that is involved in this. Okay, the earth element in the mountains, the Shailaputri. Then you move on further and, through all the different chakras. And then yesterday, when we talk about Kushmanda, right, the warmth of all creation is in your Anahata, that's in your heart chakra. Okay, and that's day 4. So you see the chakras, the Devis also move upwards in that direction, right? Shailaputri, Brahmacharini, Chandraghanta, and then you have your Anahata, which is Ma Kushmanda. And then today, from the heart center, we move on to the Vishuddhi Chakra, right? And that is the 5th chakra that we have, the 5th one, Vishuddhi, where Ma Skandamata is. Here we're talking also about the usage of our Vishuddhi. Vishuddhi also means purification, but here, because at this point you start expressing what's in your heart. This is the point of expression. This is the point of expression not only through speech, but also through your hands. What do you do? Ma Skandamata is that energy behind us serving, behind us doing the things that align us with dharma, but align us with our own swadharma as well. So to contemplate on what do I want to do? What can I, or how can I serve? That contemplation is purified with Ma Skandamata's energy. Okay. Now, I also want to bring to your notice that I chanted the Atharva Shirsham today. That is the Ganesh Upanishad, or Ganpati Upanishad. Ganesha has various attributes, but one of them is that he is also the Vignaharta, and the word that we use, especially in the Atharva Shirsham, is Vigna Vinashine. Vigna are all the hurdles, the obstacles. Okay, not just the Vigna Harta, right? Not just the remover of our obstacles. Here we're talking about Vigna Vinashine. Nash is to destroy. Vinash is to really annihilate, but not with force. And when we usually think of annihilation, we think of something that is very damaging and all the harm and the violence and all of that. We're having Lord Kartikeya, god of war. But there is also something that, even between the Asuras and the Devas, there has always been the art of war, not just in the Chinese tradition. We actually have had the art of war in Indian culture, or in civilizational mythology, in our itihasas. We've had the art of war. Why do you think war was not just done with one nuking and that was it? We've also had the different astras and the shastras that were there and they were divine in nature, which is the the itihasic equivalent of nuclear weapons, I would say. But there was meaning and rationale and conscious, There was a consciousness involved in the usage of these weapons, right? It's not just, oh, I have a bow, I'm just going to hit the arrows. No, there was conscious direction, there was conscious effort, there was conscious choice. And here when we have Vigna Vinashini, this annihilation, the word is not to annihilate without sense. There is also to bring in the conscious integrity to that war, right? You don't go and harm yourself in the process of eliminating a bad habit. You stumble, you fall, you're compassionate with yourself, and you come back to it. If you're seeking compassion from a source of divinity, the expression is that source of divinity being compassionate and being compassionate to yourself. The war that we experience, the war that we are actually living in, is the war that we have with ourselves. And one of the biggest exercises that one may have is the exercise of being loving and kind and compassionate to yourself as you work towards eliminating your own asuras. Okay. So before I close today, I'd like to invite all of us to introspect opportunities for us to be compassionate to ourselves. If I'm not mistaken, last year, or maybe in the last Navaratri, or the year before, I can't remember. I don't even know if we have a recording of it. It shows how many Navaratri sadhanas we've had. But in one of them, it was on this day then that I had invited you all to consider a habit that you would consider as an asura that you want to eliminate. Okay, this was then. Today, you can do that if you want. But I want you to actually tap into, you see, with every sadhana, with every practice, with every teaching that I do as well, we all need to evolve. It's not just me learning something and then taking you through the same thing. No, you've been with me for so many years, you need to actually progress as well, right? Do something subtler. Find opportunities. Yes, find the habit that you may want to work on. That's a good thing. But in particular, bring into focus today and until we meet tomorrow, opportunities for you to be kinder to yourself, opportunities to be more loving to yourself. Even if that means moisturizing your palms or your entire body, but consciously, lovingly, every drop of moisturizer or every drop of oil, if you're doing your Abhyanga, I see my Ayurveda students here as well, right? Every drop with care. If it's your feet, say, oh, feet, I haven't seen you in a while. Thank you for making me walk. Or thank you for sitting cross-legged for the past 1 hour. You know, I can imagine your circulation must be impacted and all of that, but thank you. Right? Talk to your body. It's only when you start talking to your body that you can start talking to your mind, and eventually you communicate and you become one. Your body and your mind are in unison, that you can actually go beyond it to notice that pure consciousness. It's simple. It's actually simple. The activities are simple, but they're very deep, profound, and they need effort. All right. So I leave you with that. I'm very, very happy to receive any kind of feedback or any kind of introspection experience. You know, what did you experience in this, or what just came up? I had a question actually, and I was thinking of answering that one question. I think you know who that question was from. I mean, not all of you, the person who's asked knows that. So the question was, how do you know that it was, or how do you know that it was a wrong question? What's the harm in asking something wrong? Let me just read that question again. Okay, so the question was, how does asking for the wrong thing backfire? Is it like an evil genie that if you ask for physical strength, turns you into a gorilla? I'm guessing it's more nuanced or subtle than that, but I don't quite get it. Thank you for that question. Okay. Asking for the right thing is an asking of yourself for clarity. When you ask for something, you need to be very clear on what you're asking, not necessarily the outcome, but what it is that you're asking. You can be very clear in your asking of a question when you ask me. And if I'm not clear, I'll ask you, like, can you clarify? Is this what you're asking? When we say we're asking of a boon or asking the divine, the divine just doesn't say, okay, I have an appointment slot free. I'll just come up and show up in front of you, right? The divine coming into your life for you to actually see them means you would have put in that much of tapasya, that much of tapas towards a goal. Now, that time your goal cannot be frivolous. You can't say, oh, I'd like to win the lottery. You can't say something like that. So you need to be very clear on where your focus is on a spiritual level. That answer is not that easy to get. So we ask ourselves every time, who am I and what do I want? Who am I becoming? You're not saying, who was I yesterday? Have I evolved? What am I looking for? What is that deep spiritual answer? And this will be a daily, regular conversation. You may have this conversation multiple times with yourselves. It's a good time to begin that conversation. But when it comes to being clear, you begin with something tangible. Okay? Just like how you move towards vairagya, dispassion, by first giving up coffee, you start getting spiritual clarity on what to ask of the divine by starting to ask for tangible outcomes. For example, if you want a windfall of money, for example, okay, and you want this huge sum of money, and you say, I want this huge sum of money, I want this huge sum of money, and I'm very clear that I want this much. I need this much because I've calculated all the expenses and the needs that I have. I've factored inflation in and I've done all of this. I need this much. Not more, definitely not less, but just this much. Will you want to get it out of your life insurance when you're walking across the road and, like those old Pink Panther cartoons, have a piano drop on your head from somewhere around? You'll get the money. It'll be on your name, but then it'll go to your family or whoever is your whoever's in your will as your nominee or whatever. You will not get it. Is that what you want? You can ask for something, but you need to be clear about what you're asking for, why, and how to some extent as well. Because usually, well, not usually actually, that usually doesn't apply to those of you who are in this gathering. When people ask for something, I want that amount, I need that amount, and I'll get it by hook or by crook. I'll get it in any which way, right? So is any which way a dharmic way? Is any which way for the greater good way? So when you say you want something, then you also need to weigh it against, do I need this? Right? So there's a big difference between wanting something and needing something. So when we say, so we wouldn't normally ask for the wrong thing. When we ask for something that we want at this point in time. But clarifying and purifying that desire brings us to ask, so you need to ask yourself 7 whys at least, why do I want this? Why do I want this? Do I want it or do I need it? If your first thought comes up as, no, I need it, then why do you need it? And those answers will really fine tune and tell you, do you really want it? I mean, do you really need it, or do you still want it? Is it going to satisfy a temporary desire? What is that desire? Why do you have that desire? So these are conversations that you have with yourself in depth and very intimately. There's no one else who can really tell you if you want it or if you need it. And if you really yearn for it, if it is something that you cannot do without. And eventually you'll find that every desire and every want and every need, as you evolve, and you evolve from day to day if you're actually on the path, right? As you evolve, you'll find that all of these wants, needs, and desires will eventually be something that you can live without, because you don't need any of them, eventually. But to get there, you have to start from somewhere. And it starts by just clarifying what you want. I want a job. Any job will do. I need someone to come down to India right now, clean my house, walk my dogs, cook my food, and I can just teach the whole day. Who's in? Who's going to come and do this? Sorry, I can't pay you too much. Yoga teachers don't get paid very highly in India, right? Now you'll be thinking, okay, I want to go to India, but do I really want to go and live with her? Yeah. So what do you want? What do you really want? And you begin that conversation with yourself, the dialogue with yourself to fine-tune that. I hope this shed a little bit more light on that question. Thank you for that. And I'm happy to engage in, to deepen that inquiry as well. These are great questions, right? They're soul questions. They answer us, or they nudge us at a deeper level. So they help everyone. So thank you for that. And I will close today's session for us to meet tomorrow. Thank you very much. Hari Om Tat Sat. I leave you with Ma Skandamata's blessings and encouragement to face everything that you have in life with a lot of grace, compassion. Don't forget to be loving to yourself today, compassionate towards yourself. And we're almost at midpoint of our sadhana. And I actually want you to think about that and share, because it has been a beautiful journey for me these 5 days. And I look forward to hearing from you about how your sadhana has been going on. Okay. Thank you very much. Namaste. Hari Om Tat Sat.